selfaddiction.com, and welcome to episode 1, Read More Books. Today I have a special guest joining me, Samone Ward, fellow book lover, audiobook connoisseur, and she also happens to be my sister. Today we'll be talking about how to read more books. We'll be hopefully answering that question that all book lovers everywhere want to know, how you can read more books with a little bit of time. Hey there, Samone. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Tamara. I'm happy to be here.
Yay, I'm happy you're here too.
Yes.
So how are you in this lovely, Tuesday evening?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm down here in Atlanta and the weather's just been fantastic. So that's all I can say about my day and my evening. Just fantastic.
Oh, that's nice. Actually, we have pretty nice weather here in Michigan as well. So I'm
Mhm.
actually not jealous for once.
This one time.
This one time, yes, exactly. So I figured we just start things off with, since we're talking about reading books and such, maybe we could talk a little bit about what we're currently reading. Do you have some stuff on your reading list right now?
Oh, yes, I do. I have this one book that I've actually been working on finishing this week. I'm so close to the end. It's an audiobook. Like you mentioned, my favorite way to consume books is through audiobooks. I actually really enjoy the Audible app.
Me too.
Um, and I also listen to things on YouTube. So I have a combination of those things. But currently I've been listening to, and I'm a nonfiction reader. So I love nonfiction. I'm in technology. So my current book is actually called Industries of the Future by Alec Ross. And it's so interesting. He's basically been on staff with Hillary Clinton and been all around the world. And so his background with technology coupled with all the things that he's seen across the world, he has like some predictions on what the big industries are going to be in the future. So super interesting.
It sounds interesting. And it's funny because the listeners, you guys out there, will realize really quickly that me and Simone have very different taste in books. She's in that nonfiction wheelhouse, and I'm in the fiction wheelhouse. So if you know anything about me, I'm all fiction 100% of the time. So we're going to have some really cool differences going on. And I guess we'll both learn something probably.
Absolutely. I don't read as much fiction as I want to, but I really do love a good story.
Yes, I do like a good biography when it happens to read like fiction.
Yes. And that's the best thing I think about some of the books I've chosen. Like they are really given information and a real story. Like they tell a story with it. So that makes it a lot more palatable.
I bet. Do you have something else on your reading list right now?
Actually, one I just finished, which I really loved, and it's called The Year Yes. I don't know if you all are familiar out there, but it's actually by Shonda Rhimes, and you all may know Shonda Rhimes from being the writer of Shondaland Thursdays with Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. But her book is all
TGIT.
right. And her book is all about herself and just her growth. Like it was good. It was inspiring. It really makes me want to follow my first mind and be whoever I am. So it's really uplifting. It's a good read.
Well, you know what? After you told me about that, I did add that to my list. Because I love all things, well, not all things Shonda Rhimes, but most things Shonda Rhimes that she puts out.
Hmm.
So I really would like to know more about her, road to, being the queen of ABC, I guess.
She is the queen.
hmm Absolutely. So on the flip side, fiction wise, I guess I'll share what I'm reading right now. I always have two things going on at the same time. I usually read one book and listen to one book. And like you, I just love Audible. It's my favorite thing. And second to Audible would be Scribed. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's kind of like a monthly service where you get one book, 3 books a month and one audiobook a month now. By the way, you guys, this is not sponsored, not sponsored. But, I use a combination of, you know, Scribes, Audible, the library, and, buying stuff. But anyway, so right now I am reading The Beast by J.R. Ward, which is the 14th book, I believe, in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. And if you know anything about that series, it is vampires and all kind of supernatural beings, and that I just love it. Warriors and their women. It's just amazing. It's
You
fun and it's drama filled.
said the 14th book in that series?
Yes, 14.
Wow, that's quite a story. 14 books.
Yes, and I drop anything to read these books. So it's I've been savoring this one because I know it's another year before another one comes out.
Hmm. How close are we to the end of that series?
I don't know. I don't think there's an end in sight right now.
Oh.
I know on Goodreads there's already posted for the next one for next year. I don't remember the title right now, but yeah, number 15 is on the books for next year already. And she usually comes out in April or March, excuse me, the end of March. So yeah, there'll be another and probably another and another and another because her fans can't get enough.
Mm.
So as long as she keeps bringing it, I'll keep reading it. Yes. And then the second book, obviously that one was adult book, by the way. The second one is Jacoby by William Ritter, which is a young adult book. And I've never read anything by him before. I'm not sure if this is his first book, but it's actually an interesting combination of like fantasy with like a Sherlock Holmes style mystery.
Mystery.
Yeah, it's very different. Like, this guy Jacoby, he's very quirky and he has like a little helper that just is fresh off the boat from, Europe. And they're kind of she kind of like falls into his employ and they're running around trying to solve this murder. But the murder isn't by anybody, it's by something paranormal. So that's
Ooh,
how the fantasy kind of ties in.
those sound very interesting.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good. And I just finished, you know me, I can go on forever about this. I just finished The Shadow Queen, which is the first book by in a series, Ravenspire by C.J. Redwine. And this is one of those fairy tale retelling type stories. I actually just posted the review on my blog for this one yesterday. What's today?
Hmm.
Tuesday? No, today. It went up this morning. So that was okay. But
Yeah.
read my
What was the
review if you
fairy
want to
tale?
know.
Is it like a well-known one?
Yeah, it's Snow White retelling.
I see.
But actually, it just felt like it was Snow White. Well,
Yeah. Wait, so are you simultaneously reading these books?
Oh yeah, I always usually have two or three going at the same time.
I don't know how you do that. I commit you. That's a whole nother skill set that I don't have. I have to always go back to the same one until I finish it.
Really? Oh, see,
Unless it's a reread. Now, a reread I can mix in with a new read.
hmm Huh.
But other than that, no.
No, I usually have one for work, and then I have my audiobook for my car. And sometimes I have two audiobooks going. I'll have one audiobook for work and then one for my car. And then I'll read one book at lunch and then read one at home. So in like my busiest times, I could be juggling four books at a time. And in the light times, it's usually two books at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing to me.
Well, I like the variety, and I think that keeps me interested that I can jump around. And like for example, how I was telling you about J.R. Ward's book, I kind of want to make it last a little bit longer. So I'm
Mhm.
not gonna sit and binge read it because I'm trying to make it
Yeah.
last because I know I won't see those characters again for a year. So I'm not in a rush to finish necessarily.
Savor the flavor of it. Really spend time with your characters.
Exactly. I mean, especially you've got to. I'm telling you, if you ever want to try out vampires, I recommend this one. I do recommend her that series. So if you ever get the feeling that you want to dive into that world, start there.
And I would try it because any series that is going strong at 14 and 15 books, that is must, like I said, must be quite a story.
Yeah, you know me. I'm a hard person to sell. So if it's doing bad, I will stop. I will drop a series like it's on fire. Like, oh my God, I don't want to touch that thing if it goes downhill, They'll have no problem dropping it, but this it's still going strong and this is one of the few series that I've heard of, from other bloggers and things like that where it's still strong this far in. Usually people tend to drop off and start getting crazy with the story around 8 or 9 books. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know what to do, so or it gets boring. But not in this case.
Right. And isn't that, I think that's one of our tips, right? That we've
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is.
to let it go, and if it's not working out.
Yeah, I think that was actually the part from the one article that was talking about the 10% rule, I think. If that's the right one I'm thinking about. So, you guys, we found these couple of articles that talk about like ways to read more books, kind of suggestions. And we found one article from highexistence.com that is talking all about the 10% rule. And I think that's where this one is from. And also, you guys, just so you know, if you're curious and want to read these articles in in their entirety, I'll have them in the show notes. You can feel free to check those out at your leisure. But yeah, I think it was like if you don't like it after 10%, stop reading it, move on to something else.
I think that might be a rule for life. Can we use that for everything? If you don't like it after 10%, just
Oh,
get rid of it, be done with it.
well, you know what? I wish. I really do wish, but I don't know. As far as books, sometimes honestly, I have to give it at least 20 to 25% because sometimes just the authors, not all authors have mastered the fast plot line.
Hmm.
Some people cannot jump right in and, hit the floor running. Sometimes they have a lot of groundwork to lay. And then it's usually around that 20-25%, area that usually the switch flips and all of a sudden it's good. Well, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, well, I think maybe because I read a lot of nonfiction, I think the 10% rule might work well with nonfiction, only because, in a nonfiction world, they have something to say. And so you can kind of tell early on if the author may not be speaking in a way that is good to you or understanding or is going to be entertaining. Like I've read some very dry books that I just put down and I knew that in the first 10%, but I've just tried to keep going. So that might be a good rule for nonfiction.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. If it's just information, I guess, yeah, you know if you want to get what you need to get from that book pretty quickly, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, this same article, though, also had read like 10% of the book every night.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I guess it depends on how big the book is. If you have a 500-page book versus a 280-page book, 10% looks very different.
Yes, it does. That is kind of interesting to put a percentage on it instead of just the number of pages.
hmm Yeah, but 10%, I mean, and also I think a lot of people wouldn't actually do the math if they're holding a physical book, but maybe with a Kindle or something, they
Hmm.
quickly know if they hit 10%. But yeah, I don't know.
That would be a nice that'd be a nice feature for Kindle to have. Do they have that? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
on the bottom, you can see the percentage that you've done, that you've completed. So, like, let's say you're 15% in, you just have to say, okay, when I get to 25, I'm done for the night, I guess, or, whatever.
Yes, technology. I love features. That's great. I love features.
Yes. Let's see. This article also said something that probably you might use. I guess taking notes and something about archiving notes. I guess it would keep you interested to take notes.
I really wish there was a way to take notes on like audiobooks because like I mentioned, I work in technology, so I listen a lot to my audiobooks at work. And so sometimes I hear things that I want to go back and reference. And it's kind of a headache to like have to go and try to figure out what time. I think it was in this chapter. I know sometimes you can throw down little bookmarks if I remember to do it, but um, that's one advantage of using a physical book over an audio book. That's much easier to take notes. And I really like to take notes on some of these great books.
Yeah. Well, I have a partial solution for you for that. On Audible, just a little quick tip, if you hit a bookmark, you have an option to add notes at that point. So the audiobook will actually pause while you type your notes in the box, and then you can later
Mm.
look at the notes. And then a second tip, if you don't like that, is I usually have Evernote on my phone or tablet or wherever. And when I hear something, I just pull up Evernote real quick, type in, the percentage or the time or whatever, and then type what I want to type.
Evernote is an amazing way to log information. I've never done it with like audiobooks or anything. It's just the highlighting I miss. I think that's the physical part, just to be able to swipe over the words real quick.
The tactile swiping, like that just throws me back to college. I'm like, oh goodness, no, not this, not studying. No, that's
No yellow highlighters.
exactly. At least give me like pink or orange or something, so I don't feel like I'm in school. I
No, you just get yellow. That's it. I'll get
don't
you
know.
a 20 pack of yellow highlighters.
Oh no, don't. Those would be regifted if I ever got a pack of yellow highlighters, just so you guys
Back to
know.
me.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-mm.
I will
So
try out some of those things though, because it's very time consuming to listen back through to try to find specific quotes.
yeah, and actually taking notes is a really handy tool for the book bloggers out there. I do that a lot because I have to, because I'll be reading, like, up to 4 books at a time, and by the time I get to the review, 2 weeks might have passed by the time I actually sit down to write the thing or record it for a booktube video. So my notes always come in handy, and I think that helps me refresh, my memory when I start, looking at my notes and stuff. And I think that also helps you read more because you're like, oh yeah,
Mm,
I like that about that book or that author. Let me pick that up again, or whatever. So you get a lot of use out of notes.
yeah, I think I'll definitely start adding that in. I know that you have an inventory of books that you want to read. Like, how do you create these lists? Because it's another one of the tips on here that's talking about just creating a list of books that you want to read or inventories. Like, where do you pull your list from?
Girl, okay, look. It's, yes, we call it a TBR list, a to be read list, and I have one that is hundreds of books long. And I pull these books from other blogger suggestions, top 10 list, authors that I recognize and I know that I like, their writing style, or even just by subject. And I hate to say it, don't tell anyone, but even sometimes when I see pretty cover art, I'm like, let me check that out.
The no no.
The
Now,
no, no.
cover
The
art exists for a reason. That's the whole purpose of it right there.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, it's a combination of things that make that list as long as it is. But when it comes down to it, like, honestly, maybe once in a while I'll actually get to something on that list, because guess what? The list keeps growing and new books come out every week.
Yeah.
So, I'll forget the list and get the next new thing that I want to read. So,
Yes, and I don't keep a list. I really just when I see a book I like, I'll purchase it. So my list is whatever is on my nightstand next. I have a book that has been sitting there for like 6 months. It looks really interesting. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But other than that, I'll like just suggestions. After I maybe listen to one on Audible, it'll give me a suggestion. Their suggestion engine is pretty interesting.
okay.
Um, when I listen to public domain books on YouTube, I'll look at the suggestions from there and see what similar types of books, or I'll just Google like lists that other people have made depending on the subject, or find a book that I've read and see what list it's on. So I get a lot of suggestions from everyone else.
Yeah, that's a good way, because well, unless someone has polar opposite taste in books, but that might be not good listening to other people. But usually, people
Yeah.
know what you like and they'll guide you in the right direction.
And I always, always, always listen to the sample if it's an audiobook. So that's always if I can tell if I'm going to like it or not by the sample.
Yeah, the sample's important, because you know what? When it comes to audiobooks, and you guys out there that listen to audiobooks, I'm sure you can agree with us. The narrator is so important. Like, the story could be really good, but a bad narrator will ruin it. And it won't be, you can't do it. And the
Hmm.
same way a average story can really be taken to the next level by having a really excellent narrator. I mean, this I've had books that I could not read literally, and then I tried on audiobook and it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful with audiobooks.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. And a lot of people they say they can't get into audiobooks, but I think it's just you got to try it, and don't limit yourself. Definitely,
Yes.
because you definitely can read more books if you take some of them on as audiobooks. And I used to feel, and I know some readers feel this way, but I used to feel in my early days of blogging that it was kind of cheating to listen to it versus reading it. But I don't feel that way now. I kind of feel like audiobooks is a great accompaniment to reading. And I don't necessarily think you should only do audiobooks, but it's a great,
Hmm.
addition to your reading.
Yes. I mean, I love audiobooks because, like I said, I really read nonfiction. And I think hearing it narrated, like you mentioned, really can move it along sometimes. Whereas when you're just reading it, it can sometimes get dry depending on the book.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, I think I actually have a nonfiction example when that worked for me in a positive way. I was reading Lean In by Cheryl Sanborn. Is that her name? I can't remember. You know who I'm talking about? The CEO, I think, of Yahoo or something.
Yes. I'm
Yes.
familiar with the book. I haven't
Yeah.
read it yet, though.
So I started reading it and I was kind of like, okay. And that was off of a recommendation, okay? So I'm like, all right, it's okay. But it'll probably take me forever to read this book because there's other stuff I want to read. So I just went and got it from the library. I downloaded it from the library's um, database, using Overdrive. And I actually ended up listening to that whole audiobook in like 3 days
Mm,
because I felt much better about listening to it and digesting the information than I did about reading it.
mm, right. And that I hear that's a good one. It's definitely popular. And I guess as a woman, I feel obligated to read it.
I mean, that's another book review that I is on my blog. So if you went to shelfaddiction.com and searched it in the search bar, you will see what I thought about that book. I mean, it was good enough. I mean, it was some good information, but some of it was a little repetitive. And I feel like sometimes biography type or autobiography type books sometimes have a lot of repetitiveness going on because they're trying to make up pages. They just want to make the book longer. So
Yeah.
sometimes things seem like why we keep talking about the same thing. That had a little bit of that going on, but I think overall it was good information. So yeah, definitely you should check that one out.
I'll add it to my non list.
Your non list. That's a great way. So is that your non list as in I might get to it maybe, but maybe not?
It's well, it's my non-list because I don't really make lists, but when I think about what the next book I want to read is, mentally I'll hopefully draw on that one, but I don't really make like a physical list
Okay, so yeah, I guess I could see a non list.
or a mental list. Maybe that's a little better.
Unless you forget, then that won't really work.
Well, I'm getting up there, so it's quite possible.
You can try
More
it.
things are.
Girl, please get up there. Get out of here. Get out. You can't say you're
Easier.
getting up there if you're not even close to retiring. So you can't even say
Oh, is that the rule? Okay,
that.
okay. Well, I won't say it then. I'm not there.
Yeah.
Even though I
Exactly.
wish I was close to retiring. I don't wish I was older, but I wish my retirement date was closer.
I know. I want mine to be in 5 years, but we can dream, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Dream.
Yeah. Another one of the top suggestions I saw, this one was on, I think, observer.com. It said buy books in bulk. And I never really thought that buying books in bulk would help me read more. It just gave me more books to look at on my shelf. I didn't get that
Yeah.
one.
I feel like when I have a stack of books that I haven't read, it makes me feel inadequate as a reader. Like, I should have read these books by now. So, yeah, I would prefer just to buy them one at a time.
Yeah, I mean, And as a blogger, I get books all the time, solicited and unsolicited, and just having them stacked there, sitting on a shelf, does not make me want to read them.
Mm,
So I don't know. I think that piece of advice might have been not very thought
personal.
through, I guess. But they followed up with a good one, and that one is always be reading. And I do agree with that. Always be reading. Like, I carry a Kindle. So let's say you go to the doctor, pull out the Kindle. You have to go to your kid's game and it's not that interesting, pull out the Kindle. You
Poor
have to,
kids.
you got to you have to read anywhere you can fit it in.
Hmm.
If you have to take a bus somewhere, have a book, or a plane or a train, whatever. So you always have to be reading or listening to an audiobook, which you can do both of those very easily now with technology.
Hmm. I was just thinking, I can't wait to start riding the train because that's exactly what I intend to do. I would love to be sitting on a train and reading instead of sitting in my car behind the wheel in traffic.
Yeah, I must agree with you. That's much more desirable, I think.
Soon, very soon.
Yes, yes. I'm so jealous. So now I have to be jealous of how you get to work and the weather. Oh, that's wonderful.
I love it. Ah,
But yeah, so I don't know. For those of you guys out there that say, "Oh, I wish I could read, but I can't. I don't have time." I don't buy it. I'm calling shenanigans. I'm sorry. When you're sitting on the throne, if you know what I mean, you take a book in there if you have to. Like, seriously.
I feel like that's just a rule of thumb when you sit on a throne. Always be reading.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even those with a lot of children or a few little loud children, I mean, you just wait till they go to bed and squeeze in a quick 20 minutes. That's where the 10% can come in. There's no
Yeah.
reason why you can't read.
Yeah. And I mean, even, I don't know if this counts for always be reading, but definitely spend that time reading fun stories for kids. Get them into reading young and hearing stories and being excited by it. It's a lifelong tool that they'll have.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you get them in on it and excited about it, they'll become as excited as you are. And guess what? You guys can be having reading time where you're reading your book and they're reading theirs. And guess what? You can read then because they're so engrossed in their own book.
They love to do what mommy is doing or what daddy is doing. So that's a great idea.
And another thing, this is good advice, being that it comes from me, a person who loves to watch a lot of TV, but turn the TV off. And I've done this. Like, if there's something that I know, like, I'm in several book clubs. So let's say I'm a couple days before book club and I know I need to read this book. I will come home, cook dinner, and then read. I will not turn that TV on the whole evening. That's been known to happen. So,
And that's interesting because that's actually, I think, another good tip for being able to read a lot of books that I didn't see in these articles is actually to be in a book club.
yes, that is a good tip, and that does work for some, but not others. You know, if you're going to be in a book club, that's one of my pet peeves, you guys, is when people join book clubs to say they're in a book club, not to really read the books. Like,
So trendy.
I know, right? And it's like, seriously, like like the book club that I run, we're not very snobby about our book reviews. We kind of talk casually. I might have some questions if we run out of topics, but that usually doesn't happen. So we're not all highbrow about our book discussions. But, it's expected that you at least read the book and can participate instead of like, oh, I didn't read it. You know how that just cannot stand it. Oh, God, you guys, don't do it.
Make sure you read the book before coming to Tamara's book club.
Yes. But the good thing about book club is it will get you out of that comfort zone. Like, I used to never really pick up historical fiction, but now I actually kind of like it. I've read historical fiction. I've read fantasy, mystery, thrillers, young adult, new adult, contemporary. I mean, you will really get out of your box and you might find another genre that you really love that you didn't know you loved.
I think that's a great tip because I definitely only read what I want to read. And I haven't found a book club to join, mostly because I usually don't like the books that are selected. So that might be good to kind of get out of my comfort zone and just stretch a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, you should, because you never know. You might just fall in love with, like, oh, I had no idea that I liked, Victorian era books, but you do. You never know.
True, very true.
Hmm. This same article also says read multiple books simultaneously, and that is exactly what I do. Yes, I agree with that one.
That's definitely one for you. I'd be so lost. And it's funny, the relevant books part is on here, what I was just speaking about. Like, oh, I don't like that book, but books that are for you, that you
Yeah.
enjoy.
Well,
And I
that's
personally love
intriguing.
a,
You love a
it is,
what?
I love a self help book. And even just the title self help sounds like a negative thing, but I don't know how everybody else gets through life, but my life is so much better when I can just think about like some positivity or some like tools to, just do my life in a better way or view my life in a better way. Like I love self-help books. And if the subject matter is not like good or helpful or relevant, I will put the book down. I will let it go.
Yeah, that's really good. I agree with that. And you know what though? I like self-help books too when it comes to, like, I actually bought some that were organization related. I'm
Mm.
all about organization and time management and weight loss and money management, and I've gotten some Susie Orman, some random books over the years that I think should help enrich my life. So I buy them when I'm like, oh, that looks like a really great idea. But I mean, they're on my shelf. I read some, I read it sometimes, and then I just put it aside because I guess I didn't find it that, I don't know. I tried it. I tried it. I tried it. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all that counts because whoever thought a book on organization would not be that entertaining? I
you know,
cannot imagine.
and it's not entertaining, but I think I was just looking for more ways to use my time, wisely. And by organizing, you make better decisions as far as time management. So,
And
yeah.
speaking of the self help books, I believe there's one other article that also has some good tips. It's on lifehack.org. And they're basically giving you a couple of reasons why you should read more books before they give you the hows. And one of them is definitely self improvement. They also talk about knowledge and awareness, power, pride, and a changed outlook. This sounds like it's speaking to me only because of the type of books that I read. But even I think in fiction, there's a lot of these things because there's just ideas and concepts that if you're just sitting at home watching reality TV like I do when I'm not reading,
Hmm.
you probably are getting a different outlook, but probably not the one you want to live your life by.
Yeah, probably not. No one wants to be, smashing a table or flipping a table or, cussing out somebody, calling them all kind of bees and you know what.
Yes, it's
I'm
definitely
not
more
about
fun.
that life.
Definitely more fun to watch than it
Yes,
is to engage.
exactly.
But another interesting part about this article that I know you can attest to personally is the speed reading part.
Oh,
Now,
yes. I
so
am a fan of speed reading.
for those of you all that don't know, Tamara is a phenomenal speed reader, and she has always been, even from when we were young, a skill that I didn't acquire when I was young like she did. But actually, recently, in order to try to read more books, I started to like research some habits and just started trying to do them, like really just pushing forward in my speed, almost maybe uncomfortably at first, but I found that I still retained a lot of information. And I was actually surprised at how much I was able to push the speed of my reading just by trying it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you don't really realize how many ands and its and tos and uhs that you read. And it really slows down the reading process. And it's kind of like you kind of just have to force your eyes to move faster. And it's natural. You will naturally take in what's important and discard the rest.
I think that'd be interesting to maybe do a future podcast on just some speed reading practices.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good idea as well. Because, when I was learning, you guys, I actually learned from a tutoring center. Our mom took me to get tutoring, and her friend who ran the center also taught speed reading. And during that, we would use the most boring Reader's Digest articles you can imagine. Okay, I'm telling you. So, this is the most dry content, and she would put it in this little contraption, and it would kind of move down the page, and the goal was to keep your eyes in front of the little moving line or whatever. And then at the end of it, you would take a comprehension test. So your goal was to read these different articles, and we would not reread the same article over and over. You'd read a different one, and each time you did it, you got a little bit faster, and then the little line thing would move faster, and the comprehension percentage would just go up and up and up. So you're retaining more. So it's really interesting, and I think I would want to talk about that some more another time. But if you guys are have the ability or the opportunity to learn how to speed read, I really recommend it. You should definitely do it.
Absolutely. I just, and using a pointer, like you were talking about, the part that blocks out the words, you had to keep with it.
Hmm.
Like covering up the words or using a pointer is also helpful with that. Like this article also mentions.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the Kindle app. Now, I don't know if it's on the actual Kindle, but I was using the Kindle app for Android. I think that's where I was looking. And I tried this new function, and I cannot remember what the function is called right now. But essentially, it showed one word at a time really quickly. And I couldn't remember what that was called. And I just tried it. I'm like, what is this? It kind of just showed up as a new feature, I guess, recently. And I didn't really like it because I think I'm used to my style of speed reading, but I think essentially it's the same thing.
Wow. I love technology and I love a feature. I don't
Yeah.
have a Kindle, but I do want to check out some of these features. There's a lot of
Oh,
great things.
I found it. It's called Word Runner.
Mm.
Yep. And then it
You
just
know,
shows you can do how many words per minute you want from 100 up to 900. And when I was trying it out myself, I felt that I was comfortable around like 850, honestly, because anything else was a little too slow. And it's almost like you don't even really realize what you're reading until you've read a lot, and then you're like, oh, I know, I know what was going on.
I'm really interested in the science behind that. Like, how did they determine the different speeds? That's really an interesting feature.
Yeah.
I have to look that up.
Yeah, so try that out, you guys. See if that helps you read any faster. Yep. Let's see. Another one on here was read before going to bed. Personally, I can't read before going to bed. If I am in my bed, I'm gonna fall asleep with the book, and I have had the Kindle and a book hit me in the face before trying to do that. I have. I'm like, oh, the Kindle's not that heavy, but I just kind of have it propped up, with my arm under, over a pillow, and then next thing you know, the stupid Kindle is flying at my face. So
I just
I
had
don't
the
like.
best mental picture of that happening.
Look, it's hazardous reading in bed, so I'm just saying.
Oh, I have tears.
It's happened. Real problems, yes.
Oh,
Book nerd
that's
problems.
it. Put that on a t-shirt.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh. So, yes, we definitely should find out what type of readers we are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we found this quiz, you guys, and this quiz is where'd it go? I think it was hosted by bookbrowse.com, and it is a reading personality quiz. So, do you want to ask me the questions, Simone, or do you want me to ask you the questions?
Well, let's flip flop. I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay. So question number one. You've got an hour to spend in the bookstore or library. Where do you start? Do you start either an hour in the bookstore, in my dreams, or check out my favorite authors to see if there's anything new, or bounce around from section to section, browsing whatever looks good, or chat with the bookstore staff to find out what they recommend?
I select bounce around from section to section, browsing whatever looks good.
Hmm. I'm going to go with an hour in the bookstore in my dreams.
All
I don't,
right.
you know,
You can't be in there for an hour?
no, I don't like to spend time like there. I like to get what I need to get and then go home. I'm like a comfort reader. Like I want to lay down or like be in my own space. But maybe I haven't given it a fair shot to really like try to spend time. I don't know. My boyfriend really likes to be in the bookstore and like just browse forever. And I'm like, you didn't look up what you wanted to get online before and just get it.
No, see, that's why I like him. He's my kind of people. Because
Yeah.
let me tell you, when Borders was open, you know, they had that huge Borders in Birmingham. I would go there and I would spend several hours, like 2 hours. Like, because what would happen is I'm the kind of person where I like to open the book and just read a couple pages randomly out of the book. Like no
Yeah,
rhyme
that's
or reason. It won't be page one or the last page. I just open to any page and read. And then, if I don't like it, I just keep going along until I find something else. Or if I find an author that I like, then the next thing you know, I'm on my phone searching similar authors. So I'm
mm,
looking up that. And then it turns into this whole exploration and I'm digging around for information, and next thing you know, I have 10 books in my hand. It's crazy.
mm,
It's a
see.
problem.
Y'all are kindred spirits.
Yes. See, that's why he's allowed into the family. Don't tell him
Oh,
that.
okay. Hope he doesn't listen to podcasts. No.
All right. So
Uh,
you're marking your own answers, right?
right, right.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next question. Let's see what this is. Question 2. What do you look for when you choose a book? Do you look for a book by one of my favorite authors? I usually choose books that have been recommended to me by friends. The next book on my to read list, something a bit different slash unusual.
I'm gonna go with that last one. I think I would go with something different and unusual. I like to like read about different types of things. So, yeah.
And this is hard for me because I would say all four. Like, I use a
Hmm.
lot of ways, but I think if I was in a situation like you do, when I want to get in and get out and I know what I want, so I'd probably just go for a book by one of my favorite authors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do question number 3. You're in your local bookstore and you see that an author signing is scheduled for the following day. What do you do? It looks interesting, but chances are I won't have the time to go. Or check to see if it's one of my favorite authors. If so, I'll definitely go. Otherwise, probably not. Or put it on my calendar. I love to go to these things, even if I'm not familiar with the author. Or lastly, if I happen to be passing at that time, I'll probably drop in to see what's going on.
Hmm. I'd go with if it's one of my authors, I definitely go. Otherwise, not.
If it's one of your authors. You know what? We're the same on
Yeah, I mean,
that.
I feel like time is short. I don't have time to just be lollygagging around to see if it's a good author or not. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely the same on that.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Which of these quotes appeals to you the most? Number 1. Choose an author as you would a friend. Number 2. Read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them at all. Number 3, when I get a little money, I buy books, and if any is left, I buy food and clothes. Number 4, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Hmm.
So you probably know which one I'm going to choose. I wish it sounded less pretentious, but it is the mark of an educated
Oh,
mind.
I knew it. Oh, so predictable.
Well, you know me my whole life, so.
Yes, that's true. Let's see. I would probably pick read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them all.
Mm,
Yeah,
that
I
probably
think.
would have been my second.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Let's look at number 5. You've heard about a book that looks like it may be good. What do you do? I'll probably spend some time asking friends or visiting websites to find out what others think of it, because half of the fun of reading a good book is finding it in the first place. Or if it's an author I've enjoyed in the past, I'll probably just buy/borrow it without any more research, as I know I like the author.
Hmm.
Or I'll check it out online and try to read an excerpt and some more reviews, as too often books don't live up to the hype. Or lastly, I don't have a lot of spare time, so most of my information comes from a handful of reliable sources. If one of them says it's good and it looks interesting, I'll probably buy or borrow it based on their advice.
Probably a combination of those, but my first instinct is to look online, read an excerpt, and read the reviews because I've come across tons of hyped up books lately.
Yep, we're the same on that.
Hmm.
That's why I love an excerpt just to get a little taste.
Yeah, absolutely. Question 6. You finished your last book. What do you do? 1. Check around the house. There's sure to be something interesting that I haven't read yet. Number 2. Look up the list of books that I've been wanting to read and order one. Number 3. Call up a friend and see if they've got any books they can recommend or lend me. Number 4. Reread my favorite authors until I find a new book to enjoy.
Okay. Part of me wants to say look around the house because I do have books around the house, but my real life, what I really do is I reread or re-listen to something that I know I've enjoyed. I do have some favorites that I will re-listen to and reread.
Wow. Oh, you go, girl. Because I have tons of things on my, list that I want to reread, but I never do.
Mm.
But like you, I also, I want to say that I would look around my house because, I have tons of books everywhere, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think I would look up something I wanted to read and order it, even though I
Yeah.
have plenty sitting around here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look at number 7. Your friend's having a birthday party and you've decided to give him or her a book. What do you get? A book that's part of a series that I enjoy, a book by a new author I've just discovered, and maybe I can borrow it later. Shade.
Hmm.
A current bestseller that I think will suit him or her, or a book that's a bit out of the ordinary, but I think he or she will enjoy.
Mm. I think I'd go with a book that is not a part of a series, but the first in a series that I enjoy.
Okay. And I, of course, am definitely going to go with something that's out of the ordinary, but I hope they'll enjoy it.
See, it's too risky. It's risky. You gotta know if it's good.
Well, I mean, they might like it, even if I don't like it. It's worth a try. I'm a risk taker.
Yes, you are. Okay, so let's see what our results are.
Drum
Drum
roll.
roll.
It's my best drum
Wonderful.
roll.
Okay, so what's yours, Simone?
I am the eclectic reader. You read for entertainment, but also to expand your mind. You're open to new ideas and new writers, and are not wed to a particular genre or limited range of authors. Pretty true. I feel like it's pretty good. What I'll enjoy at a book browse. Oh, this is on this site. So, what is your type of reader?
Well, I'm the all-arounder. The all-arounder. And it says I fit into all three personality types. The exacting reader, you love books, but you rarely have as much time to read as you like, so you're very particular about the books that you choose. The serial reader, once you discover a favorite writer, you tend to stick with him or her through thick and thin and eagerly await the next of the series. And like you, the eclectic reader. So I am a part of all three.
Do you feel like it's true? Spot
I
on?
do. I do. I mean, my reading taste is so broad. I read all genres of fiction, all types of, books, minus the nonfiction, obviously, but even I read a little bit of that. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I am, kind of open. So I totally agree with it.
Yes, well rounded.
Yes, that was fun. Thanks for taking that quiz with
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. Mine was spot on. I loved it.
You guys, if you want to take that quiz, that link will also be in the show notes as well. So you can click on there and find out what kind of reader you are as well and share that with us. Either leave a comment on Spreaker or, tweet at me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. What about you, Simone? Do you have a place for people to holler at you if they want to?
I am not in a place where
Yes.
they can talk to me.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
very anti-establishment. Sorry.
hey, I understand.
Tamara will tell me all about it, though. She will share all the delightful comments, and I will ask her because I'm actually very interested in what you guys are saying.
Absolutely. Cool. I will definitely share those. I will. Okay, so I don't know. Do you have anything else, Simone?
No, it was a good tips and tricks, a good quiz.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we 100% answered that question outright, but I think we've given you guys lots of food for thought and, let's, like Simone said, tips and tricks that you can use to allow yourself to read more books. And hopefully you found this helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. We've been blabbing for 50 minutes. And thank you so much for you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned because another podcast will be coming shortly, maybe in the next 2 weeks. So please hit that favorite button on the Spreaker app or follow it online via the RSS feed, all those good things. And that is all for today. So thank you so much again for listening, and until next time, happy reading. Bye, guys.